Hello, it's Perfect Balance, and I thought we'd just be really cringe for a moment here and take a look at the changes, do like a first thoughts reaction kind of thing to the monk notes from the live letter today. A lot of people have been kind of dooming about these things, so I thought let's have a look. So we'll go through the changes first and then sort of jump into some like initial thoughts. So off the bat, as you can see behind me, basic combo mechanics no longer center around maintaining a buff or damage over time. Instead, performing actions in a sun order will increase the next action's potency. What does this mean? It basically means everything is lead and fist now. If you take a look above me here, you can see the new job gauge. You press Dragon Kick, you get one little pink ball to spend on a boot shine. You press Twin Snakes, you get 2 little pink balls to spend on 2 True Strikes. You press Demolish, you get 3 little like teal turquoise balls to spend on 3 Snap Punches. It's all lead and fist. Kind of interesting. As I just quickly running through the changes, pretty good one. Again, underneath me here, you can accumulate up to a total of 10 Chakra while Brotherhood is active. Prevent Chakra overflow, perfect, no notes. I mean, it's what we've been asking for years now. Less Chakra overcap, great, cool. Something else they mentioned about this in the live letter, the translator said, I believe, when you have Six-Sided Star activated, there will be an action depending on how much Chakra you have stacked. If you can utilize all the Chakra you have stacked, your potency will be enhanced. Was sort of just taking this to mean at the moment, Six-Sided Star potency scales off the amount of Chakra you have. Cool, pretty interesting. And then one final change that was in the video skill showcase thing. There are now follow-up GCDs on all of the riddles, so it looks like Riddle of Wind has like a line AoE skill attached to it, and Riddle of Fire has maybe like a circular ranged AoE. We'll go through that a bit more in a bit. So those are the changes. Initial thoughts, obviously Chakra overcap mitigation. Finally, we've wanted that for so long. Awesome, perfect, no notes. Six-Sided Star being buffed based on the remaining Chakra you have is pretty interesting. There's no clarification on like actual potency numbers, obviously confirmation on whether or not Six-Sided Star is still a double length GCD. It presumably is. Sort of, I doubt it's going to become a part of the main rotation now. It seems just more so in line with the change regarding overcapping, where it's sort of avoiding situations where you're coming up on downtime, you use Six-Sided Star as your last GCD, and oh hey, it crit. I've now gone from 4 to 5 Chakra stacks, but I can't spend it because downtime. Presumably, it consumes the Chakra stacks, because if it didn't, it doesn't fix the problem at all. But hey, we'll see. On the face of it, this seems like a pretty nice change. Be interested to see if it scales all the way up to the 10 Chakra with Brotherhood, or if it just sort of peaks out at 5. Hard to say. Obviously, everything is speculation, but pretty interesting change. Then moving on to sort of things that are now more affected by this massive change to our like core GCDs. Not having timers anymore changes things drastically. The first place my mind goes is AoE. So if you've done any of the ultimate fights throughout this past expansion, you'll have discovered the fun that is trying to do multi-target monk. Being able to spread Demolish around is pretty nice. It changes up at burst windows a lot. The even windows can get incredibly awkward depending on the entry that you find yourself having. There's so much you can do with it. Monk is already like a spreadsheet heavy job, but double target even windows, that's the kind of thing that requires a lot of planning, generally speaking. That's obviously all out of the window now. You don't care about your Coel GCD anymore. You just, hey, I pressed Demolish on this one guy, well, I'm using Snap Punch 3 times in a row now. You know, ab rotation became a lot more rigid and simpler in that sense. Obviously, there's not many fights where that's really something that you have to consider, but nonetheless, it's a part of the job that is absolutely drastically changed now. Following on from that, this change I think this does make the job a lot more approachable for newer players. So I've been in the Balance Discord since it became a thing, since before it was the Balance Discord, back when it was all separate job Discords. And one of, honestly, the two main things that people bring up as things that make them a bit trepidatious about getting into Monk: positionals, and then sort of the timers, like tracking timers. To most people that play Monk, none of these are an issue. After a while, it's one of those things that just becomes pure muscle memory. You don't really have to think about it. But for first timers, it's actually pretty like intimidating. Obviously, they got rid of almost all the positionals this previous expansion, but our rotation remained like relatively complex in spite of that fact, which sort of kept a lot of people happy, because, you know, we have a decent amount of complexity to our job. It's not boring. There's a lot of room to optimize and plan, but at the same time, there were still people that were like, hey, I think Monk kind of looks cool, but like, I don't know what to do about these timers. Now, this change, honestly, sort of a controversial take maybe. I know a lot of people really hate this right now, and maybe I will when I get to play it myself, but it's basically the same, right? In terms of the single target rotation, it's the same idea of just having this sort of ratio between how often you use your GCDs, alternating your Oppo GCD. In this case, it's now 1 twin snakes for every 2 true strikes as opposed to alternating, and then 3 snap punches for every 1 demolish instead of 2 for every 1. But it's the same idea, presented in a much more accessible way, I would say. You know, you don't have to think about those scary numbers on the timers anymore. You don't have to think, oh, hey, do I refresh at this time or at this timer? You don't have to keep track, really, of like how many snap punches I've used. However you're doing it when you're still learning the job, like, it's just there on the job gauge. Hey, I have this many balls left. I need to press this skill now. So in terms of like, I can see what they were going for, and honestly, I think that this redesign does exactly what they want. Like, I feel like people are gonna be a lot more willing, like the casual player or like the new Monk player has a lot less things to sort of be scared off by, basically, because of this change. That being said, it does sort of completely kill optimal drift, sort of, kind of. If you're familiar with optimal drift, the whole idea behind it is getting, or rather, keeping everything on cooldown whilst not dropping demolish for too long and not clipping demolish for too long. Demolish doesn't exist anymore as a timer. That's not something that we have to worry about. So it now just becomes a game of putting the most amount of whichever of these GCDs is the highest potency into our burst windows. Now, presumably, that's still going to be the Oppo GCDs, but we can't say for sure. Oh, hey, I'm getting pinged. Yeah, we can't say for sure. Like, it's anyone's game at the moment. But it does heavily change the way that our burst windows are going to be functioning. Sort of going in hand with that, the follow-up GCDs to Rill of Fire and Rill of Wind, depending on the potencies, could also introduce a bit of something new, basically, to the burst windows. I feel this is purely based on absolutely nothing. I feel like they're probably going to adjust the cooldown on Riddle of Wind as a result of this, just to sort of get it more featured in the burst windows, sort of bring it in line with everything else. Currently it's 90. Obviously all like the raid buffs in the game are 2 minutes, so it only syncs up on like the opener, and then 6 minutes unless you're doing some kind of hold. So that's another potential 2 GCDs added into our burst windows. What else we got here? I mean, that's pretty much it in terms of the things I made notes of. I never said this was going to be high effort. Let's take like a bit of a look at the job action trailer though, and just sort of go through what we see. Let me turn that down a little bit. Okay, so classic form shift doesn't seem to do anything on the gauge. Chakra still charges 5, Thunderclap still exists, cool. And then you can see the, we got the little balls filling up here. Classic perfect balance, new Oppo GCD, Dragon Kick, new Oppo GCD, presumably the new boot shine, and then a new elixir field. I don't know if that means like they've repurposed old elixir field into something else, or if this is just an upgraded version of elixir field, past like level 90 or something. Who knows? But yeah, honestly, there's not too much to say about this. You can see the overcapped chakra in here. Some of the new animations. Phantom Rush is still Phantom Rush. And there's a Vim Chakra. There's a 6-sided star. And here are the follow-up GCDs. So Riddle of Wind looks to be, presumably with that animation, it's like a line AoE GCD. But who can say? And then there's a Riddle of Fire one. Presume like it looks like just a ranged AoE GCD centered on the target. Who knows? Looks kind of cool though. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. There's not really too much to be gathered from just looking at the new animations, but I thought it was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean ultimately, overall, I kind of like the changes. I think I've personally been playing this job since the A Realm Reborn beta. That's like over a decade of Monk at this point, and we've had a lot of changes over the years. It's true, like things, you know, we've gone from sort of just the basic 6 GCD Monk to like oh god, what was the next big thing? Tornado Kick Monk. From Tornado Kick Monk to like a Natman Tick Monk, and then from a Natman Tick Monk to basic Monk again, and then into like the optimal drift era. It's been pretty cool, but throughout all of that, sort of the core gameplay has remained the same. You know, the same 6 GCDs, the same timers, the same ratios. It's really just been the burst windows that kind of change a little bit each time. And I mean, I know I said that we're pretty much retaining the same sort of structure in the core rotation, with this system of like everything being a form of Leaden Fist now. But it's still different, it's still fresh. I'm not going to say that I love it or hate it before I play it, but it's something new. It might be interesting. And I mean, again, I know I said Optimal Drift is pretty much dead with that Demolish, but there is a chance, there is potential, there is a world where the potencies on these skills still does lead to like having to think of interesting optimal or interesting Riddle of Fire entries. We really can't say like the true extent of how the job's going to change, if it's going to be boring or simple, until we get the actual numbers. So yeah, I remain cautiously optimistic, personally speaking, but it's been sort of it's like pretty interesting just over the course of the day seeing everyone's reactions. There's been a lot of funny stuff that's come out of it, and yeah, it's just overall kind of nice to actually see people talk about Monk again, because God knows no one really cares about this job outside of the once every year or so that they give us changes. So it's nice to sort of get to see what more people think about the job. So hey, here's your obligatory call out. What do you think? Are you excited? Do you think it looks bad? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What would you rate it? Let me know. Leave a comment. I'm eager to hear what people think. But yeah, if you stuck around this long for some reason, thanks for listening to me ramble for like 15 minutes over a picture of a live stream and a stream of the balance. I was hoping nothing too crazy would happen in there. I have to keep an eye on these guys because they've been kind of popping off over the course of the day. But yeah, thanks for helping me watch my kids, and let me know what you think.